Hello.
And there you are. Yay! Well, folks, this is it, the official start of Road Rally 2020. And I could not be happier than to have my friend Tony Van Veen, who's been a dear friend of mine for, I don't know, probably 20 years or more. He's also the CEO of DIY Media, which owns Discmakers, Merchly, and Book Baby. We don't hold this against him, but he is a drummer. And he's a longtime champion of independent musicians. He's actually one of the greatest marketing minds I know. I call him for advice. We brainstorm ideas, and I'm thrilled to have you here. Welcome, Tony.
Great to be here, Michael. Good to see you as always. I was hoping that we'd be able to have a beer in person, but we'll have to do it virtually this year.
Absolutely. A little scary, but better safe than sorry. So Tony is going to do. He's really good with like lists of 10 things you should do, 10 things you shouldn't do. He actually gave me this concept probably 15 years ago to Road Rally. So I asked him if he could do that today, and he's going to do 10 music marketing ideas for indie musicians. So have at it, and I'm going to try and stay in the background, but I'll jump in and kibitz with you when needed.
Oh, yeah. Please jump in, because otherwise it's just going to be, you know, me going through a list, which is not that exciting. But so 10 marketing ideas for for indie musicians. So, hi everybody. Glad to be here on this first ever TAXI Road Rally Prequel online. Um, I looked at a list of 10 marketing ideas, and then I kind of flipped it on its head a little bit, thinking about what are the 10 things, and actually I can keep going. I have more things to talk about than 10 if we need to fill the time. I'm assuming we're not going to be telling fishing stories. So I flipped it on its head and said, what are some of the things, 10 things, 15 things that I see artists not doing that they should be doing from a marketing perspective. And I think number one on my list is not budgeting or not budgeting enough for marketing and for promotion. Look, you have, particularly when you have a new album coming out, a new project coming out, you have to have money to spend. When Ford has a new truck that they're launching, the new Ford F-150, they're not just going to say quietly, well, when people come to the dealership, they'll see it, right? They're spending millions of dollars buying Super Bowl ads and buying ads on local TV. And in a way, it's the same thing for you. You as an artist, you need to let your fans know and let prospective potential fans know that your album is out, that your music is out. And I see it way too often that artists don't actually budget for their promotion and their marketing of their album. Yes, there's a lot that you can do for free with social media nowadays, but your social media reach is much more limited than what you think you might have. Typically, if you post stuff organically on Facebook, on Insta, on Twitter, only about 20% of your fans, of your followers get to see. And so how do you reach everybody? And how do you reach outside of your fan base? You're going to have to spend some money. Now, question I get asked a lot is, well, how much is enough? How much should I budget? And a mutual friend of ours, Michael, Brian Calhoun, has, he gave me a great guideline, which is, typically to be well set for what you need to spend, you should spend as much on marketing promotion as the whole production side of your project cost: recording, manufacturing, distribution. So that's easily thousands of dollars. Now, do you as an average independent artist have that kind of money? Maybe not. But I would say probably the floor of what you can and should spend on social media, and it's mostly social media. I mean, people talk about, should I spend on PR? I think PR is like buying a lottery ticket, and your chance of an ROI on doing PR is pretty limited. But, there's great services to easily spend some high impact promo and buy some ads on Facebook and create target audiences. Probably 300 to 500 minimum between, I would say, as a guideline, between 500 and $1,000, you can really get some nice impact for your dollar. So that's item number one. So I'm curious for you, Michael. Have you heard any guidelines, any thoughts, any opinions on what an artist should spend on marketing?
I haven't had people give me actual numbers or a percentage, but yeah, I'm in complete agreement with you that everybody does this, not just musicians, but so many small business startups, hot dog stand, whatever. People don't think about marketing. They think that what they've got is so cool that people just show up, and they don't. So I could not agree more with you. It's really hard to get musicians to say, okay, I'm going to spend less money on making the record so I can spend more on promoting it. But that's a chasm they need to cross.
Yeah, I wouldn't advise you to spend less money on making the record, right? You want to make the best record that you can afford. But look, think about it. We've both been in this business for a long time. When I started in this business, it was the first wave of vinyl, and 1,000 vinyl records was the minimum you could buy, and it was about $3,500. So today, that's just depressing, right? That's not the recording studios, which were a lot more expensive back then, 30 years ago as well than today. Today, for $49 with CD Baby, you can have your album, in front of hundreds of millions or billions of listeners. So back then, artists found that $3,500 somewhere. I don't know, they saved over time, or if they had to stick up a McDonald's, they would do so. But so the question is, what can you do today to come up with between $500 and $1,000, or maybe a little more, to create some target audiences on Facebook and on Instagram of people who look like your fans and your followers, and then spend some money on some ads to get out there, because the goal is to have a successful album.
Speaking of sticking up McDonald's, it's a lot easier now because everybody that goes in there is wearing a mask.
Yes, it's easier to do so anonymously.
Right. That's the only good thing to come from the whole COVID thing, is if you're a bank robber, it's easier.
Though, and I will date stamp this by making this comment. Around our neighborhood, the McDonald's and a lot of the stores are currently boarded up, anticipating who knows what might happen tomorrow. So I'm hoping that everything stays calm. All right, so I'm going to go on to number two. And number two is closely related to number one, and you touched on it already. And that is that too many artists don't think about marketing and promotion until they have new music out. Right? That like marketing is something you do related just to a new release, which as an artist, it isn't. The industry has changed, right? This is not just every year or every 2 years you put out an album, and that album goes with a promotional push, and within the first 6 to 12 weeks of that album coming out, you're gonna have 80% of your revenues from this album. Nowadays, we're in a streaming world, and there's a trickle of revenue that comes in when your music is out. You see a little bit of a lift, but there's going to be a revenue stream for as far as the eye can see for years. And what that means is you as an artist have to be constantly, always and forever, at least as long as you want to be an artist and you want any kind of success, you have to always be thinking about promotion. How you as an artist need to basically retain mind share with the fan base. And so how do you not get forgotten? Well, you don't get forgotten by basically constantly being out there on social media and on email primarily, communicating with those who are interested in communicating with you. So
I think people are afraid to be honest, be authentic, be themselves. And I just made an interesting observation. Last week, we had a couple of social things go out from Taxi. One was like a camel and one was a cat. And they got more engagement than us sending out, hey, we've got new listings. So clearly people like cats and camels. So I'm thinking if you're a musician, here's my new cat. Here's my new camel. Or, here I am in the studio. People like stuff other than announcements. They want to be let into your life. So that's
Yeah. We see this, with disc makers, certainly. For example, we post stuff and, picture, video from what's going on in the factory, etc. But whenever we post a meme, like the engagement with a meme that we post is like 2 to 3 times as high. You don't have to it doesn't have to be just you rehearsing, although you rehearsing can be exciting to fans and those fans that are interested. And look, it's not that hard nowadays to be thinking about promotion because social media makes it easy. I do it in a different way. Obviously, I'm not performing any longer, but I look at my job as contributing to the marketing promotion of what we do for artists. So when I walk through, like this morning, I'm walking through my plant, and I always have my phone in my hand, and I look for cool stuff to take pictures or video of, and then later on we will post some of that stuff, and it's easy. And so if you get your mind around thinking about, I just have to engage with my followers because that is promotion and I have to do so on an ongoing basis, you will find ways to do it. And by the way, if I can market myself for a minute, on Saturday I am doing a session, I believe it's at noon, at the rally, called how to successfully launch an album in 90 days. And it's about recording, manufacturing, distribution, and the promotion and selling to create a successful album in 90 days. And I'll be giving a ton of examples of the kinds of things that you can communicate and post about on social media to keep your fans engaged. So I'm talking a lot about promotion, I'm talking a lot about marketing, and I'm talking about how do you organize your release so that it is not just a release that you put out in the world, but that it actually accomplishes the goals that you have for that release. So
you're going to give out a calendar that people can use, because it's one thing to make a list on I'm looking for a notepad, but I'm famous for making lists on these guys. Having a calendar, since we started putting all of our emails and social and stuff on calendars, it's much easier and more effective.
Yep, I have a 90-day calendar, and every week and every day there's stuff that you should be doing, and the goal is to go from confusion and overwhelm to having basically a path and a blueprint to creating and releasing a successful album. So tip number 3, or thing not to do, is you don't want to just drop an album out of the blue into the wild, right? You're not Beyonce. The days of just putting an album out and releasing it are gone. Nowadays, your release strategy is part of your marketing, and it's part of your marketing strategy. And in the streaming era, you need to, as I mentioned before, you need to retain mind share. And so before your album, every album has to be preceded by 2 or 3 singles. You want to prime the pump. You want to, get your fan base excited. You want to let people know. And these singles are also, in addition to pictures of your dog, or you at rehearsal, or in a local record store flipping through vinyl records, the singles are specific things that you can actually promote and market. And so that gets your fan base ready for, Tony's got a new album coming out, right? It gives you, and you'll start building up some streams. And then if you take the digital ISRC codes of those singles and make sure that they appear also on the album track. The streams for your singles on the day your album comes out will also be counted again against your album streams or as part of your album stream. So your release strategy is part of your marketing, and every album should be preceded, as I said, by 2 or 3 singles. All right. I have one of my tips. I'm not sure this is a marketing tip, but I think it's certainly related to driving income from your music, and that is, that you should make sure that you put out physical product in addition to releasing your music digitally. As I think everybody knows, it's hard to make a living. It's hard to pay the bills, when Spotify pays you 4/10 of a penny per listen. And so, physical product, whether it's vinyl or CDs or a t-shirt, is critical for you as an artist to make money. And yes, much of that product is sold during live performances. There are no live performances, at least not to speak of nowadays. So it's a little more challenging, but sites like Bandcamp, and if you have your own website on Bandzoogle, there's opportunities if you have an engaged artist base and you make your physical product so special and so cool that a fan wants to, they have to have it. It's an opportunity to drive extra income. And frankly, where does this become part of your marketing? If you sell a t-shirt with your name or your band name on it and it's cool and fans wear it, they are professing to be proud members of your tribe. And so, they will do the marketing for you by wearing your merch. So that's physical product.
Can I add something to that, which is you're talking about t-shirts and physical product. I don't know if this is one of your later numbers, but artwork and font. People do this kooky stuff sometimes that it's really hard to even read. Like the band Yes back in the day, their logo was impossibly hard to read, but it was a different time. Nowadays, you have to use fonts that go well with the graphic and are very readable, and keep your graphics simple and impactful. Otherwise, you're wasting half of the bullet that you just shot on that release.
So, I had one as kind of a bonus point. I'll mention it now that, amateurish photography and amateurish cover design are a real drag on your perception as an artist, on your brand as an artist. Your bass player's cousin is not going to be able to deliver the kind of professional design that looks good on a CD cover, on a vinyl cover, and on a tiny little Spotify playlist thumbnail, right? And the best way to look good is with quality professional photography. Good enough is not good enough when you're talking about album cover design and photography.
And consistency. Using those same images and same colors. As a matter of fact, Tony and I were talking before we went live today. Notice that I'm wearing a yellow t-shirt. Notice the cab sitting over my left shoulder. Those are all little subtle cues about branding, which as an artist, you should do the same.
I mean, notice the baby blue sweater that goes with my baby blue eyes.
I haven't stared into them in so long, Tony.
It's hard. It's hard in a video screen.
Yeah, we need a fishing trip, dude. Tony and I, once every few years, we will meet in Miami, on a Friday night, go fishing on Saturday, go out for a nice dinner Saturday night, fly home on Sunday. And it's one of the great joys of my life because we can talk about family and business. It's just a great day. Anyway, back to business here.
All right. So let's go to the next tip. I think, look, as part of your goals, your goal as an artist should be to constantly be growing, and not just creatively growing, but growing your fan base, right? I mean, success comes when as you get more and more fans and more listeners, more and more streams, more and more people buying your t-shirts, your records. And and that means you have to think about, how do I build up my fan base, but how do I know how to reach them? And so I think too few artists actually think about, maybe none, and maybe it's just me being a business marketer now. Artists don't have a conversion plan, a plan or a strategy to convert a casual Spotify listener to somebody who will either follow them on Spotify, or who will come to their YouTube and subscribe to YouTube, or come to their Facebook and like their Facebook so they can start getting messaging. Or I think, the big prize is sign up for their mailing list. So how do you convert those people, who casual viewers or listeners around the periphery, to actually doing what you need them to do so that they can give you access to them, right? So that when you have messaging to do, that you can reach them. There are some cool and very affordable tools. CD Baby has a service called show.co, show.co. That's a marketing platform. It's free to CD Baby clients, but other non-CD Baby clients can use it as well. And one of the really cool things that they have is they allow you to build up these social gating pages, so that you can send somebody, for example, to a YouTube page, but before they get to the YouTube page, they get to the show.co page, where they have to actually click to subscribe to your YouTube channel before they get to see the YouTube video, or they have to give you a follow on Spotify before they get to hear your track. Now, some people might find these intrusive and find them annoying, but it's one tool that I think is pretty effective to building up your YouTube subscriber base, to building up your Spotify follows. And the more follows and the more subscribers you have, the more people are going to watch your content. The more streams you're going to get, the more fractions of pennies that are going to be coming in. And then, obviously the big win is, how can you get people onto your email list? What can you offer them? So thinking about a conversion plan or a conversion funnel, as they talk about sometimes in the business marketing space, is really important. Because if your fans are just out there and you don't know who they are, and you don't have a way to reach them, then when you have something to sell, and by the way, making a living in music means somebody's got to buy something from you at some point in time. They don't know if you can't reach them. Which brings me to my next tip, and that is, too many artists in this era of social media sleep on email. They're like, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Insta, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Snap. My fans can reach me, and if you play golf, and I'm a really bad golfer, you might have heard the saying, drive for show, putt for dough. I have changed that saying to social for show, email for dough. And, people don't go to Facebook or to Instagram to pull out their wallet, even though that's slowly starting to change as these services, have integrated ads much better. But artist after artist, I think every single artist I've spoken to, and I'm sure you see the same thing, Michael, when you talk about selling product to fans who are not right in front of you at the merch table, email is by far the tool that converts at the highest rate.
You and I talk about this, regarding our businesses. Yeah, I mean, we do social. Here's a great example. We did a sale some months ago, maybe 6 months ago, and first time ever, we ran the same sale on social as we did in email. Email generated, I'm not joking, like 100 times more than social did as far as revenue. So yeah, you can tell everybody your new album is out on Facebook, but they're not there to buy. You're 100% right.
And by the way, if you tell them on Facebook and you link them to your Spotify, which is not email, Facebook will suppress that message because Facebook does not want people to link off of their own platform and go somewhere else.
Right.
They make more money when they engage you. And so you don't own Facebook, right? Facebook can change their rules. You don't control how you look on Facebook. It's their UI, their user interface. Same with Insta and all the socials. Your email is one of relatively few assets that you completely own. Those email addresses are yours. And if you go from, MailChimp to, any other email service provider, you can take those email addresses with you.
Yeah.
And it's the only way that you can really be guaranteed that, with the exception of some emails that may go into a spam inbox, that every message you send is going to be received by the recipient in the manner that you intend. And then, so email is really important. And it's, you just need to test some strategies. How do I get people onto my email? What can I give in something of value in exchange for the thing of value that I want from my fan, which is their email address, right? Their name and their email address. So, a free download of some unreleased track, or just, whatever, put a sticker in the mail. Chris Robley, who writes the CD Baby blog, which is an awesome blog, he gives away, he talked about this on the blog, he gave away CDs to his fans, he like put them in the mail in exchange for an email address, and it actually pays for itself.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I want to mention some great advice you gave me like 15 or more years ago. There was a brief period where we managed a band called Bob Goblin. They were a taxi band that couldn't find, they got a record deal, but they didn't love any of the big managers that wanted to manage them. So we agreed to manage them temporarily, back when Doug Minnick still worked with me. And they were doing a show somewhere in your neck of the woods, maybe Philly or something. And you said to me, I cannot believe, with all the marketing books you've read, that you don't have a person standing at the back of the room with a CD table set up and give people, when they go to buy it, give them a 20% discount if they give up their email address. Never crossed my mind because I normally didn't deal in that world. So great advice. Everybody should do that. So, and related to that is, and I know this is a topic near and dear to your heart, your marketing communications, email or otherwise, should have a call to action. You should tell your reader in email, or your fan, if you're live on stage, hey, we have CDs available for sale for $10 at our merch table in the back. Or in your email, hey, new album out, click here to, get it from our Bandcamp page. If you don't tell people what to do, they are guaranteed not to do it. People are afraid. Yeah. Musicians are afraid. Creative people generally, I think maybe all people, are afraid to say, hey, would you like to buy this? They think that people won't like them. They'll be offended.
There's a lot of fear of stepping outside your comfort zone.
Yeah.
And we all have it, and artists have it very, very strongly, that if they ask somebody to buy their CD or their T-shirt, that they will be perceived as overly commercialized, selling out, what have you. But look, you got bills to pay. I got news for you. If you love music and you really want to do this for a living, you got to sell stuff to pay bills. And if you want to sell as much stuff as possible, you want to make it as easy as possible for a prospective buyer, i.e. a fan, to buy your music. Make easy links, to your Bandcamp page, to your Spotify page, or have it, for sale on your website. I know Bandzoogle, who's also a sponsor, I think, of the rally and has been for a long time. They don't take a commission when you sell products through the Bandzoogle website. So through your Bandzoogle website. So, yes, be prepared to step outside your comfort zone. Just because you're uncomfortable with it doesn't mean your fans are uncomfortable with it. They'll be happy most of the time happy to support you by buying a t-shirt or buying a record, especially if it's really cool, right? It's got to be so cool that the fan should covet what you have for sale. So the call to action is a big deal. The comfort zone. One of the things that another piece of advice that I would have or suggestion would be, way too many artists don't test stuff. They don't try enough things to figure out what sells best, what sells easiest, and they certainly don't track it. And a lot of it is, I tried that, it didn't work. So I'm not going to do that again. And one of the things that we as marketers know is the more you fail, the more you learn, right? The key is to keep trying things and say, oh, that worked. Selling my EP on CD for $5 worked. All right. Let me at my next couple of concerts try selling them for $10. Oh, that didn't work so well. I sold, 100 at $5. I sold, 30 at $10. Okay, I made less money, not more, right? What about at $3? What about trying and then you learn and you say, okay, what about a name your own price? And, I had an artist tell me, we went, I think it was Brian Massaferi. Who said, they were selling CDs, EPs for $5, and they decided to do a name your own price with physical and at their gigs. And so he would get up on stage, he would be up on stage, he'd say, listen, we got our new EP available for sale, and we want everybody in the room to walk out with one. And you can pay us whatever you think is worth. And so if you got $5, we'll take $5. If you got 10, we'll take 10. If you got $1, we'll take $1. If all you have is $100 bill, we'll take it, right? And he said they ended up selling 3 times.
Wow.
The CDs, and when they averaged out the revenue per CD, it was like, I think he said it was like $4.95. It was like the same, practically identical as the $5 they were selling for, and they were seeing triple the sales.
So maybe I'm going to switch Taxi's pricing model to be pay what you want. That's going to be very popular in the chat room.
Yeah. Yes. I'm not sure I would advise that. But the point is, you got to try stuff. You got to keep experimenting, and figuring out what works, and then what do you do next? In marketing, there's this concept. You do your testing, and then you have a control group, and so you figure out what's the thing that we do that works the best for selling the most CDs, and that's let's say it's EP for $5, and then that's your control. In a room of 300, you will on average sell 30. Okay, that's our control. Now what can we do? What can we test so that we can outperform the control? And maybe a name your own price gets you up to 60. And then that becomes your control. Now, can you do something else that outperforms that? And so, it's just, there's a little bit of work. Being a successful artist is not just rehearsing, composing, and performing, right? You have to think about the business side of things. Everything we've talked about here is marketing, and to some artists, marketing is a dirty word. And I think that if you put your mind to it, the marketing side can be just as creative as the creative side. I used to compose, I used to perform, I used to record, And I haven't done that in 30 years, but I get the same kind of creative satisfaction
Yeah.
from sitting down and writing an email that I know is going to be read by 200,000, people on our email list. And so, because it's creative, it's creative in a different way, but it is creative, which takes me to the next thing. And Michael, you and I have talked about this. You have to learn to write. You have to learn
Oh,
not to fear writing, right?
right.
And just like you've had to learn how to play an instrument,
Couldn't have said it better.
how to compose a song. That didn't just start,
No.
just like you have to work at it. And writing is something that is creative if you let it flow. And look, maybe you need to have 3 glasses of wine before you start writing. Doesn't matter. But you let it flow, and then let some people read it, let them critique it, see what kind of response you get, see what kind of engagement as you post stuff on socials, as you put stuff in your emails. But you mentioned the A word, not that one, authenticity I'm talking about.
Oh.
Be your authentic self and write like a human being. The stuff I hate is when you read some marketing gobbledygook that uses all these big highfalutin words, and it's not how people talk. Write how
That's
you
right.
talk, right? And be a regular person, and be yourself. And by the way, when you're writing, if you have 300 people on your mailing list, or 30,000, or in our case 200,000, I sit
Right,
down and in my mind's eye I write to one person. I don't even the greeting, like, hey fans. No, it's not fans. It's not you guys. It's, that's why ideally with your email list, you want to capture the first name is more important than the last name. So that
Right.
in the email, I could say, hey, Michael, right? Rather than, hey, you guys. It has to feel like a personal communication. I do this thing with my social media team. Every Saturday, I post a short video on YouTube called the Indie Music Minute, and it's 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes worth of some music tip. And I do it in a very personal way and in a very one-on-one way. And the engagement is incredible. And people calling me their friend and this and that, like I've never met them. But because it's very personal, because on video, I mean, there may be 100 people now watching this, Michael, but I see you on screen and you see me. And,
Yeah.
we're having a one-on-one conversation. And that makes it, personal and engaging.
If I can add on to that, also, everything you said, by the way, everything you have said this morning is pure gold. I mean, people can skip buying about 5 different marketing books because of what you're bringing them here. So thank you for that. It's been great. But when you write, you don't write what you want people to know. Write what they want to know. So sometimes when I get stuck and I'm sitting at the office, literally 10, 11 o'clock at night, working on an email is just not happening, I'll take a piece of painter's tape and with a Sharpie write what's in it for them and stick it on top of my computer screen. Every word, every sentence, every paragraph is what's in it for them, because that's what we all care about. Hey, yeah, I'll read the email if there's something for me in there.
Right.
Yep.
Exactly. So, while we're talking about writing, something you may not see yourself like this, but you are a storyteller. If you want your fans to engage with you, to bond to you, not only do you have to be authentic, you have to be able to tell stories and give examples and etc. What you don't want to be is an email spammer and a social spammer, as I call it, which is just buy my album, new album out, buy my album. It's the best way to get unfollowed if your messaging is rote and repetitive and only commercial. You want to have and offer value-added communications, as it's called in marketing lingo. You want your reader to get some value from what you post, and that value could just be information or entertainment. Or post a meme. If they get a chuckle, that's a value-added communication, right? Because they got a little chuckle out of it. So it's just, if all you do is tell people where to buy your stuff or where to stream your stuff, you are going to be the most boring communicator, and people are just going to either actually unfollow you or just scroll right by you as they see you in the feed. And that would be a real shame after you've built up all
Right.
of that, all of those followers.
Where are we at on our numbers? Because we're at 10:41. We've got 19 minutes. Just giving you a heads up. Are we at like number 5 or 6?
I think we're at like number 10 already, but I'm going to keep going.
Okay.
I stopped counting because I had a list and it's all out of order based on what we're talking. So
great. Just keep going.
Yeah. So speaking of value, and it's just a marketing tip. I think this is a success tip. You want to focus on value in whatever you do, and specifically, you want to focus on giving your clients, i.e., people who potentially would buy your music and your merch, real value. What does real value mean as an artist? Make sure your songs are great. Make sure you give a transcendent live performance that, somebody in the audience who's never seen you before walks away like, wow, that was absolutely incredible. Don't just go through the motions. Oh, I got to put out another single. Oh, I got to put out another album. Oh, my weekly gig at the coffee house is happening again. All right, let's go. Right? Offer amazing merch. Offer great quality recordings. Offer real value. If you want to honor your fans with really good content. I've seen, I look. I work at Disc Makers. I walk through our factory. I see CDs. Sometimes the CDs look really good, and I can't tell you how often I will pop a CD in and I will listen, and it'll just be such a downer because the songs just don't soar, right? And so, songwriting, and look, kudos to TAXI members for being members and actually working proactively on their craft. I mean, this is one of the all-time awesome conferences because of the engagement and the people that you have speaking, the resources that you have. And I mean it genuinely. I'm not just kissing your butt because I am the first guinea pig for the prequels this week.
Sorry, I emailed Tony late last night. I was just like at the end of my rope from being so tired. And I said, you're the canary in the coal mine. So thank you for doing it. But man, I got to tell you, what a great way to lead off an entire week of panels with so much powerful stuff. This is great.
How about this for a success tip? Don't blame everybody else for your lack of success.
Woo! I love it.
Because it's, oh my God, oh, they didn't answer my call. Oh, there's so many reasons and so many ways that you can blame others for your lack of success. And very few people are blessed with the ability to first look in the mirror. What could I have done differently to have sold more albums? To have gotten that gig, to have gotten another 20 people to my concert. You're in control. Yes, there are things you cannot control. Welcome to life. But you are in control of your actions. And, if you believe that your actions can lead to results, then, don't blame others. Take that control and take that responsibility.
That
It's
single
easy.
tip
It's easy
alone,
to cast blame.
that was worth the price of admission for this whole hour. That people do it because it's hard. I'm not a perfect human being. I don't think any of us are perfect. And part of that imperfection is we tend to look for external forces to blame our lack of success or lack of anything on, because it's hard to look at yourself and go, I just didn't work hard enough. Really hard.
And I've seen lots of artists who didn't work hard enough. And look, I'm not casting aspersions. If you have a 9-to-5 job and you're also an artist, it takes a lot of work, because the music part, you come home at 5 o'clock, you have dinner, the girlfriend, the wife, the children, right, need some attention, and then you're gonna go. What are you gonna do? You're gonna compose. You're gonna rehearse. Now, when are you gonna engage with your fans on Facebook? When are you going to, plan your recording session? I mean, there's a lot of work that comes. So it's understandable that your career may go up in, hopefully up in kind of stair steps, but it's not always going to go your way. But that doesn't mean it's somebody else's fault.
Right.
So the other thing, really a little more maybe on the hopeful side, is that I see is sometimes people just give up too soon. There is they stop too soon trying to reach their goals, right? And whatever that means. Sometimes it's just with one release. I have seen releases in the streaming era that don't just take months to catch fire, but I've seen some examples. When I was involved with CD Baby, that took literally 2 years before an album caught fire. In this case, the album got placed on a massive playlist, but I mean, whatever it takes, right? And so if your album in this streaming era hasn't reached its goals yet, keep working on it. Start doing something else to promote it or to market it, etc. An album is never done nowadays in the streaming era. You build up your artist's revenue from layers of multiple albums on top of each other, all of which are still getting streams and all of which are still generating revenue. And artists look for, they always look to examples of overnight success. And so and so blew up. Lil Nas X, his first song, boom. Why can't that be me? Well, good morning. It doesn't work that way, right? I mean, success is built up over time. Release one, people get to know about you. You build up a few fans. You start performing. Now you got album number 2. If you keep promoting, you'll get more streams. With more streams come, slightly bigger venues. You go outside your market, and then number 3, it goes in stair steps. Gradually, each release builds upon the next. This overnight rocket ride doesn't really happen except in very exceptional cases.
Well, but people wait for the exceptional, but they should just do the math. The chances of that happening are literally like winning a lottery ticket. So when people say, the music industry is a lottery, only if you let it be.
It's interesting. I mean, I've been in business here now for 30 years, 33 years. And,
wow.
We're by all descriptions, we're a pretty large company. But when I started, we were a small company, and we didn't go from being a $5 million company to a $50 million company or a $100 million company in 2 years. Every year, when I look back, the years that we grew the most, we grew 20%. right? There were plenty of years where we grew 3% or 5% or 8%. So if you take that analogy now and think of yourself, right? If with every release you can get 20% or 25% or 30% more streams, more listens, etc., that compounds over multiple releases over a period of 5, 6, 7, 8 years. And there's light at the end of the tunnel. And I've seen artists that just stop releasing music, and it feels like they're actually doing well, and they've had traction. It's just traction that has gradually built up over 8 years, and they just got discouraged that it's taken 8 years instead of 18 months. So, I get it, but if your goal is to grow your social followers and your fan list by 20 or 25% a year, before you know, you've got thousands of names on an email list. You've got thousands, tens of thousands following you on social, and it really makes a difference. I was at the CD Baby conference, and there was this guy who was a speaker, and he said, "Hey, raise your hand if you want to do this for the rest of your life, this music thing." And so 90% of the hands in the room go up, and he says, "So why are you in such a damn hurry?" And I thought it was a great kind of reset, right? Yes, I want to do this. I want to do this for as long as I possibly can. And so I got to take a long-term view. I think for me, one of the my secrets to success is I can play the long game better than anybody else, because I haven't had to look for a job every 3 to 5 years. I could just, if next year looks challenging, well, what does 3 years from now look like? And in 3 years, you can accomplish anything, or you can certainly turn any bad situation around.
The last person standing on the field always wins the game.
Exactly right. So let's see. Do I have anything else to talk about?
Can we talk about merch? I know nothing about merch, quite frankly, which is odd because I grew up in a family-owned little tiny department or clothing store in a farm town in Illinois, but I really know nothing about merch in the context of bands. I know you guys own Merchly, and what are who are the people that are most successful selling merch, and what are they doing to be successful at it? Especially
that's
in
a
the
really
age of
good
COVID.
Yeah. Well, in the age of COVID, believe it or not, one of our most successful merch sellers is a woman who I don't know her, but I won't give her name, mostly because I don't remember it. But I swear to God, she's in her 60s, and she is on this karaoke group on Facebook that has, I think, 75,000 members, and she actually prints T-shirts. She sings karaoke, and she prints T-shirts, and while she's singing on this Facebook group, she hawks the T-shirts. And so, look, can you get in front of an audience, and can you make your pitch? If you have content, i.e. merch, that is cool, there are ways to get that out there. And I think, look, it's really tough being an artist right now, right? Artists have obviously taken a huge hit, particularly if you're I know you have a lot of members who don't perform live, but if you are an artist who relies on live performances to drive revenue, to pay the bills, you've taken a huge hit, and that's a challenge. So the question is, what are you doing about it, right? Back to the you are in control of your own situation. Are you just sitting around watching COVID counts on CNN and feeling bad for yourself, or are you actually working on your songwriting and going into the studio and recording some music and getting it out there, putting stuff on streaming sites? One of the interesting things that happened at the start of the pandemic was the streaming distributors.
Yeah.
All of them just were overwhelmed with how many new releases were happening. I'm hearing numbers that are, 40, 50, 60% ahead of same month in previous year. And so there clearly were artists who were either deciding, what, I've been, neglecting, I should have put my album from 5 years ago on CD Baby or TuneCore, DistroKid. Well, let me do it now. Maybe I'll make a couple of bucks. So there was some latent demand or content that got up there. But I think there were also more artists that were just going into the studio and deciding, well, I can't perform live, so let me put music out. So I forget how we got there.
We're just talking about how people sell merch. You already mentioned the lady who does really well with merch, and just selling anything in the age of COVID is tough, especially for performing artists. We see a lot of our members, and just to let you know, we got 4 minutes left here, but just we have more performing artist members than I sometimes think about. Not that I don't think about it, I'm just not aware that if I had to guess, I would say 15 to 25%, somewhere in that window. And one thing I see with many of them is that they have multiple streams of income. They teach piano, they teach voice, they do small gigs, they do 4 times a year, they go out on a cruise ship and do a regular gig. They put all these things together, and I'll bet you that they could sell merch even to their piano students. Why not make merch that says, I've got busy fingers with Mrs. Mertz,
Look, if you have an awesome wedding band, why can't you sell merch? Oh, no, it doesn't get done. Oh, no, wedding bands can't sell merch. Why not? Right? So a lot of the limitations are self-imposed limitations. Oh, right. I couldn't sell merch to my piano students, right? Look, even in this day and age, we can't get physically with other people, right? I can't come over and give you a hug. So physical media is actually, to an extent, a great substitute for not being able to get physically in front of people. And so, a site like Bandcamp is an incredible resource because you can sell anything that you have, CDs, vinyl, downloads, T-shirts, hoodies, you name it, you can sell it there for, and they take a reasonable commission. Bandzoogle, if you have your website on Bandzoogle for, I don't know what it costs now, $20 a month, right? No commission on selling merch. So, and if you then have, and this is, again, back to my comment early on about the conversion process, right? If you can figure out how to get your Spotify and YouTube listeners to follow you and then come to social and then come to your email list. If you have an email list of 2,000 names, 5,000 names, right? And you mail that 5,000 names a T-shirt offer, and you get a 2% conversion rate, 40 people, 100 people on 5,000. That's 100 people bought a T-shirt for $20. All of a sudden you got $2,000, right? Yeah. Now that's an oversimplification, but that's how the math works, and you do have to think about that math if you want to. Again, back to my original comment. If you want to make money, if you make a living from being an artist or being a musician, at some point you got to sell something.
And with that, we should probably wrap this up. But, man, I've been enjoying it. I'm sure the audience has. I've been loosely watching the chat room. And just, man, you were spewing out gold today. Just great stuff. You were. I mean, it's just boom, 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 one after another.
I'm laughing at the spewing, not at the gold.
Dripping gold. It's great to hang out with you. You know, when we talked, I think a couple of Saturdays or Sundays ago, after you and I hung up after a long conversation, and we always talk about the kids and life in general. And I went upstairs and said to Deb, one of the little disappointments in my life is that Van Veen doesn't live near me. But I'm getting the high sign. We're at the top of the hour, so I got to go. I want to remind everybody to be back here in an hour when I interview Carl Richardson, who co-produced the Bee Gees, just worked with like Clapton, all these great acts, and really gave me one of my big breaks in the industry. So that'll be great. Tony, thank you for doing this, man. You were great.
Awesome. Really
you just
fun.
saved a lot of people a lot of money on going out and buying marketing books. I hope they rewatch
Hopefully.
this. Thank you very much. I will see you soon. I'm looking forward to your thing. When is your Disc Makers thing? Saturday.
I believe it's at noon.
Okay. We'll double check him and let everybody know. Thank you, sir.
Sounds good.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Tony Van Veen.